Hello everybody and welcome back. Welcome to the Stitch Sessions. If you're new here, I'm Karen and I love all things to do with crafting with crochet. And to my regular crochet friends, welcome back. Did you guys miss me? I took last week off. It was my birthday week and it was a lovely break. And I got a chance to spend some time with my friends and family, but I am excited to be back to show you guys the new project we're going to work on today. Now, this was based on a request. I can't remember if it was during the live stream we did regarding the beach bag, when we did the beach bag breakdown, or if it was somebody that emailed me. In any case, it was very recent, and I thought this will be perfect to work on for a little summer project. Like, you can make all kinds of things with this. So this is the Granny Star. Now, we already have a Granny Star tutorial on the channel. And of course, I'll leave that linked in the description box down below. But the request was to create a mesh stitch version, which I thought was a fabulous idea. So here it is. Look at how pretty that is. That's why I just wanted to use the blue background so you guys could see. So the Granny Star is lovely as well, but I find that the laciness just gives it this really extra little bit of elegance, and you can make all kinds of things with this. You could use this as an applique, maybe on a cardigan, a scarf, a blanket. What I probably would see this used more is as part of a bunting for like maybe a baby's room or a child's room. Would look really, really pretty, which sometimes is how I see the traditional Granny star used. And by the way, there's many different ways to crochet a star. I also have a few other tutorials on how to crochet different types of stars on the channel as well. As always, I'll leave that linked down below. So really nice and straightforward. We start in the center. Now I start using a cinch circle. That is my favorite method. The odd time I do use a ring. But I start using the cinch circle. We start with a little circle. And as you can see, hopefully maybe you can see that, I actually start with a 5-pointed granny motif. And it's exactly the same method we use for the traditional Granny Star, but we're using the mesh stitch to then take each peak and turn them into the points of the star. And of course, you can do 6-pointed stars if you like, but the 5-pointed is always my classic favorite. So that's what we're gonna work on today. Let's talk about gathering your materials, and then we'll get stitching up our Lacey Granny Star. Okay, so for this tutorial, I am using a little bit of this leftover yarn. I actually forget the name of it, but this was the exact yarn I used for the summer bucket hat tutorial, which we did a few weeks back. It is a lightweight number 3, I believe. I'll put a graphic up there on the screen. And so I just have a medium weight number 4. I just wanted to compare that so you can see. This is a medium 4. And this is a lightweight number 3. Now you can certainly use a medium weight 4, but I really love the look of how the lightweight number 3 creates a really pretty lacy effect. So I've just got a little bit here. You won't need much to do a star. Again, depending on how many stars you're going to need to make for whatever project you are making. That is going to be up to you. 1 skein I think would be good if you wanted to do something like 5 or 6 stars. But of course will always depend on the weight of your yarn. And the hook size I'm going to be using is a 5mm hook, which is also known as an H or a size 8. Okay. As always, make sure that you have a yarn needle to sew in your ends. Remember, a yarn needle has a larger eye than a regular thread needle. And of course, a pair of scissors to snip your yarn. So let's begin creating our Lacey Granny Star. Okay, so we're going to begin with the center of our star. So I'm going to start with a cinch circle, which is similar to a slip knot. We just don't resolve it into a knot. So I start with a magic ring here. I insert my hook and I pull up a loop, and then it gets a little tricky here. Just going to tighten that loop, and then I'm going to chain 1 to secure the circle. Okay, Then I just like to throw that tail over to the front side. Once you've got your cinch circle done, we're going to chain an additional 4 chains. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So these chains are going to count as a double crochet and a chain 2. So what we're going to do next is we're going to now double crochet into our little ring here. So you're going to yarn over, insert into the ring, pull up a loop. Now I made my ring very large. I didn't need to make it that large, but I just wanted you guys to be able to see it. So I'm going to resolve like a regular double crochet stitch. And that's just going to give us what looks like a little bit of a V there. Okay. Then we're going to chain 2. And then back into the ring, we're going to place a double crochet stitch. See, actually that's an example when the ring is too big. Just going to cinch that in just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now we've got 2 of these little pie slices. I'm going to chain 2 again. And again, I'm going to double crochet into the ring. I'm always working over the tail as well. It's going to be really important. We're going to need that tail to cinch in our work. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets. We need 5 in total. So we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to do 1 more double crochet into the ring here. Just like that. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2 one more time, 1 and 2. So essentially for our 5-pointed star, we want to have a double crochet and a chain 2 5 times into this ring. So the next thing you want to do is take your tail and you want to cinch that center shut. See how it goes right close and pull it nice and tight. And so now what I want to do, I've just finished that chain 2. I want to come all the way over here to where we did those 5 chains. I want to find the top of the 3rd chain, which is right there. And I am going to slip stitch into that chain to join my round. Just like that. See that? So our first round is complete. And we now have a little circle. So you can actually see, looks like there's a star inside the circle there. Okay, so now we are ready to go on to round number 2. And this is where we're going to begin to create the points of our star. So what we want to do is we actually want to go over into that first chain 2 space, and we would just want to slip stitch over into that space. Okay, and from this space we want to chain 5 again. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now again, this will count as a double crochet and a chain 2. And I like to start, so this is going to give us a partial point, and I'll explain why at the end of the round, why I do it in this fashion. So what we're going to do next is we're going to create the other side of our corner. So we are going to insert into the space 1 double crochet. We're going to chain 1 and place 1 double crochet. So it gives you a V stitch, which is also what gives us that little bit of that lacy mesh-like effect. So our corners are created by the chain 2s, and the chain 1s are just in between our stitches, which gives us that mesh stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to now move on into the next space, and we're not going to chain 1. We're just going to go immediately into the next space here, and we're going to double crochet, chain 1 here, and double crochet. So we're basically using our V stitches here. And then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then back into that same space, we're going to place another V stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Now, if you have ever tried the traditional granny star, or actually any granny motif, you'll know that usually we do a shell, chain 2, and shell to create a point or a corner. And a shell has 3 stitches. Now this V stitch also has 3 stitches. So it has a double crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. So that gives us the 3 stitches. So there you go. You can really see that point coming through now. So this is what we're going to do into every single space around our little pie here. And we should have 5 points, okay? So remember, between the spaces, we are not chaining 1 in between. We're just going to go immediately into the next space, do our first V-stitch here, which is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Then we will chain 2 to give us our corner point, and we'll go back into the same space and double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Okay, so now I've got 2 points and half of another one. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my round, and I'll meet up with you when you have your 5 points. Okay, so I've just finished my 5th point here, so I've got my V-stitch. Now remember, we only did a partial point here, so we've got to finish that off. So I'm going to work my way back into this space again, and I'm going to place 1 double crochet. And then I'll have my chain 1. And then I'm just going to go and find the top of the 3rd chain, which is right there. And I'm going to slip stitch to that. So 3 of those chains counted as a double crochet stitch. And now you can see I've completed my last corner. And the reason why I like doing that is because that chain 3 will then get kind of hidden in there. And then we always start by slip stitching into the corner to start each new round. And that way the seam of the motif isn't as prominent. A lot of times when we're slip stitching in the middle of a side, the seam of our round tends to kind of protrude a little bit. So that is why I do that. So round 2 is complete. And I know right now it just looks like a pentagon or a little bit of a house shape. So let's go on to round number 3, and I'm going to show you how we're going to take these 5 points and actually start to shape it into a star. Okay, let's go on to round number 3. So round number 3, we're going to begin the same as round number 2. We're just going to slip stitch over into our chain 2 space here. So we want to maintain the points where they are. So I'm going to start by chaining 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that will still count as a double crochet chain 2. And then go back into that space and do our V-stitch here. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Just like that. So you can see we've got a partial corner there. Okay, now what we're going to do, we've got a side already happening here. So what we want to do is to create the star shape. We've got points and then we've got dips or valleys of those next to those points. So what we're going to do now, so you see we have the V-stitch here of this corner, and then we have the V-stitch here of the next corner. We're going to go right in between those 2 V-stitches, and we're going to place a half double crochet stitch. So it's a shorter stitch, and also because we're skipping over that other V-stitch there, it creates a reason for our work to dip down a little bit. Okay, so now you can see that V-stitch on this side wants to dip down in the center of that side. So I'm going to do it a few more times so you guys can get a better look. So we're going to skip over this next V-stitch and go right into the corner space. So we're going to work into the corner spaces, and we're going to just place a regular corner. So we're going to place a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Okay, so it's going to stretch a little bit. See how it's shorter there? Now we create our corner with a chain 2, and we go back into that same space with another V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. See, so now you can really see it starting to dip in here. So after you finish each corner in this round, you're going to go in between these 2 V-stitches. So you skip the next V-stitch, and in between, you're going to go down into that space between, and you're just going to place a half double crochet stitch. Okay, and that really anchors the point into place. So that's our first full point there. See that? Then we just repeat that. We skip the next V-stitch into that corner space. We do our V-stitch, chain 2, and V-stitch. And into the side, you're going to place a half double crochet stitch. So I just did my chain 2 and then a V-stitch here. Okay, just like that. So V, chain 2, V. I skip the next V-stitch from the row below, and in between there, I place a half double crochet stitch. There we go. So you can see that our next point is being formed. Now, don't worry if you feel like the points don't really look very pointy. Do not worry. There's another couple of rounds that is going to fix that. Now, on that note, some people in their corners for granny motifs, they actually like to chain 3, and that really makes the point extra prominent. I myself, the odd time I will do that, depending on the project I'm working on. For the most part, I just stick with the traditional chain 2, but if you really want them to be very prominent, you can do a chain 3 if you like. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my points here, following that same system. And then I'm going to meet up with you once we are ready to finish off round number 3. Okay, I've chained 1, and now I'm going to finish off my last corner here. Some slip stitching to the top of the 3rd chain. So round 3 is now complete. So now you can see where we had the original 5 points, we've made them a bit more pronounced, and we've started creating some little dips along the side. Now they're very subtle. This is the end of round 3. We're going to go on to round number 4, and this is where those points can really kind of come nicely pronounced. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so round number 4, we are going to slip stitch into the corner space, as you know I like to do. We're going to do the same thing, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to do the rest of our corner here. So we're going to go in here and do a V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Okay, now our star is starting to get a little bit larger. So we need to maintain the integrity of the sides because now our points are getting longer. So now coming out of the corner, I am going to chain 1, and I'm going to place a double crochet inside the very first V-stitch. And that chain 1 is now going to continue the look of the mesh stitch effect. See that? And now we are going to come across that half double crochet stitch we did in the previous round. For round number 4, we are now going to single crochet. So anytime we go into the dip, we are not going to chain 1. I'm just going to go directly into the top of that stitch, and I am going to single crochet. So by not chaining 1, it creates a little bit of a shorter distance. There we go. So now you can really see it's dipping down. And then I continue on. I find the next side, which is right here. So into the next V-stitch, again, no chain 1 here. I'm going to go directly into the middle of that V, and I'm going to place a double crochet stitch. So you can already see there was a dip down, and then we're going back up. So by using a nice short stitch like a single crochet in the center there, that creates the dip lower. Some people might do a slip stitch. Just be careful, because if you do a slip stitch, sometimes it crunches down too much and it bunches your work. So that is why I used a single crochet. And then guess what? We come to our corner. So then we just go immediately into our corner. But here we do want to chain 1 because now we are into the mesh stitch portion. So we're going to go into the corner and we're going to place that V-stitch, chain 1, double crochet. And then we have chain 2 for our corner. You guys know this. You're going to get really good at doing your corners here. Chain 1 and double crochet. Okay. So now you can see the point is starting to become much more defined. So then going down the next side, I will chain 1. into that V-stitch coming out of the corner, I'm going to place a double crochet. And now is the dip, so I will not chain one. I'm just going to go directly into the stitch of that half double crochet, and I'm going to single crochet. Okay, and then I do not chain one, but I go into the V-stitch here in the middle of the V-stitch, and I double crochet. Now, some of you might ask, can you go into the chain itself? Sure you can, no problem. I just find it's way easier and quicker to do that. Okay, and then I chain one, of course, and begin my next corner. Okay, so let me just take this out here. There we go. See? So now you can see the dips are becoming very prominent, and we've got our points starting to really show because they're growing. The size of our star is growing. Again, some of you may still want to do a chain 3, but remember, we actually will have one more round after this to really accentuate those points. So now that you know what to do to continue building your points, and then in your valleys, you're going to continue repeating that for each point until you complete round number 4. And once you're done that, I'm going to meet back up with you, and we have one more round. Round number 5 is going to be our finishing round. So I will see you back here in just a bit. Okay, so I'm slip stitching to join. And round number 4 is complete. Look at how pretty that looks. So you can really see the star is gaining in size. And now you can see really much more prominently where those points are. See that? So you've got your center, round 1, round 2, sorry, your center is round 1, round 2, round 3. We've just completed round 4. Okay, now if I turn this around like this, you really wouldn't even be able to see where those restart stitches are. Yeah? Okay, so we have one more round. I find now sometimes people ask me, well, can you make this star bigger? What I would recommend if you want to make the star bigger is use a heavier yarn weight, like go up to a medium weight 4, maybe even a bulky 5, depending on what you're doing. Because that's an easy way to create a larger motif. I find if you start doing more rounds, it is possible, but then it does start to bunch a little bit. And now there is going to be a future tutorial using the star motif that we're going to talk about creating a slightly larger effect, but you'll have to stay tuned for that. That's going to be in a little bit. But for now, if you're looking at using this for appliques or add-ons to other projects, I would say these 4 rounds are great, and then round number 5 is our finishing round. So let's talk about round number 5. Okay, so just like we've done in previous rounds, we're going to slip stitch into the corner space. And for round number 5, we are going to use the single crochet stitch. So we're simply going to create a nice little finished edge. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to go back into that same space. We are going to single crochet. Okay. And then we're going to chain 2. So we always want to chain 2 for those corners. Again, you can do a chain 3 if you like. And then I'm going to go back into that same space, and I am going to single crochet. So our corners are now created using a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And you can see that that point looks a lot more prominent there. Okay. And then all we're going to do is we're simply going to place 1 single crochet into every stitch along the way. Now, remember, anytime you come out of a corner, do not forget that very first stitch. It's easy for it to get hidden there. Make sure you single crochet into it. Otherwise, your stitch count will be off there. And we want to keep everything nice and even. So we're going to go into that next stitch and single crochet. Next, we have a chain 1 space. So we're just going to go into the space and single crochet. And then into the next stitch, single crochet. Okay. So wherever there's a chain, we're going to single crochet. Wherever there's a stitch, we're going to single crochet. And now we've got that last double crochet just before the dip. Okay. So there we go. See how it's really creating a nice prominent edge. So this is where we did our single crochet here. What we're going to do here is we are going to slip stitch. So we always keep shrinking the height of that stitch in the dip there. See that? And then we just go on into the next stitch and we single crochet. So it's pretty straightforward. Everything is getting a single crochet except for those little dips or valleys there. So I'm going to single crochet. I'm going up to my next side here, or my next point, I should say. So I'm going into the chain and then the stitch. Now I've got my corner here. So remember, in the corner space, I'm going to single crochet, chain 2, and sometimes instead of doing a chain 3, I like to chain 2 loosely so that that point really becomes prominent. And then I go back into that same corner space and I single crochet. Of course, don't forget that very first stitch. Okay, and now look at what we've got there. See how the point is becoming much more prominent there? So if I show you my first little star I did, same thing. So those single crochets really add to creating a nice defined point to our star. So that is the last round. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I'm going to do a single crochet all the way around into each stitch here. And then when I've completed it, I am going to meet back up with you and show you the final reveal of our mesh stitch Lacey Granny Star. Okay, so I've just finished my last single crochet, and all I'm going to do is find the very first single crochet we did, and I am going to slip stitch to join my round, just like that. And then I'm going to chain 1, snip my yarn, and our star is complete. Okay, then of course you're going to weave in that end. But now you can see that our star is nice and defined. So just got to weave in these ends here. This one's a little bit long. Okay, and there you have it. That is the Lacey Granny Star motif. So here's the other one here. Wouldn't that look absolutely adorable in a bunting? So you can attach them right to each point here, or sometimes people will do a little chain in between and then attach them from the top 3 points. So nice and easy little project. And actually this would look really sweet maybe on a child's cardigan or something like that. I would do a contrasting color. So like today, for example, I used my blue little background here. That way you can really see the mesh stitch effect of that star. So I hope it took a little bit of the mystery out of how to create these star motifs. And I hope you found them easier than you thought they were going to be. Now, if you have any other extra questions, please do make sure you leave them for me in the comment box down below, as always. And you can also, if you prefer, you can email me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. I know a lot of you actually do like doing that, and I think that's where one of the requests came from for this star. Again, I can't remember if it was the live stream or an email, but I am always very happy to oblige. I love working on different types of motifs. Now, don't forget, as always, come visit me on the website, crochetcrafty.com. Lots of goodies there for you. Many of you know I always go on and on about all the things that are on the website. Just go on over and check out lots of free tools, crochet tools to help you along the way, written patterns, and all kinds of other goodies. And don't forget as well, come say hi to me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. I spend more time probably on Instagram than I do on Facebook, but I do respond to any messages that are sent to me there if you want to DM me directly. All right, guys, have an amazing day. Have fun doing your Lacey Granny Star motifs. And let me know what you're going to do with your motif. Like maybe you're going to do a bunting like I suggested. Maybe you're going to use this as an applique onto some other cool, fun project. Make sure to take photos and send them to me, and tag me if you're sending them to me on Instagram. Don't forget, I'm at The Stitch Sessions with an underscore between all of the words. So send me your pics and let me see what you are up to. All right, in the meantime, I will see you guys in next week's session for another really fun, cool summer crochet project. So stay tuned for that. So take good care of yourselves in the meantime. Stay cool. It's really hot out there these days. And I'll see you guys in next week's session. Bye-bye.